Hey guys, I'm here with my model Lisa and I will be doing her makeup for today's video. So first thing first, I'm going to clip her hair back, then taking the Witch Hazel toner, I'm going to apply that onto a cotton pad and just wiping her face with it. This is going to help get rid of any excess oil, shrink her pores, and even out her skin tone. Then going in with a moisturizer that I can't pronounce, I will be applying this all over her face with a round blending brush that I got from Real Technique. My model mentioned that her skin is more on the oily side, so I will be using the Fenty Pro Filt'r Mattifying Primer on her today. And I like to apply the primer mainly on the T-zone areas. That's where most people tend to be oily and where the makeup tends to come off. And to also help minimize the pores on her cheeks, I will be going in with the Benefit Cosmetics Professional Primer, and I'm just going to massage that into her skin. For her brows, I will be filling it in with the Benefit Brow Pomade in the shade 3.5. I like to fill in the outer corners first and work my way towards the inner with whatever product that's left on the brush. And by doing this, it's going to help create that ombre effect. Then with a fine tip brush, I'm going to pick up some of the pomade and create hair-like strokes onto the inner corners of her brows. The brush that I'm using is actually from Hobby Lobby. It's just one of those regular synthetic brushes. I don't know the name, but I would try to figure that out and list it on the description box down below. And to finally finish it off, I'm going to be using the Anastasia Brow Freeze to help lift her brows in place. So next, I'm going to take a little bit of concealer and clean up under her brows. I'm using two shades, by the way, and I like to go lighter on the outer corners and a shade darker on the inner corners. Then to fully conceal her eyes, I will be using my Graftobian Cream Foundation. This palette is extremely creamy and pigmented. I love using this as an eye base, especially when I'm using the Mario Master Mattes palette. His shadows are kind of drying to me, so for me, I like to have a wet base when I'm using his shadows. So going in with the first shade, Matte 8, I'm going to start buffing that to the outer crease and bring that towards the inner crease. And the brush that I'm using for this is the Volare E07 Detailed Blending Brush. Now to diffuse the harshness, I'm going to end with the shade Matte 4, and with my Volare E04 brush, I'm just going to blend that out towards the brow bone. Then taking the shade Matte 8, I'm just going to darken up the outer corners. For the brow bone, I will be using the shade Matte 3, and with the same blending brush from earlier, I'm just going to lightly brush the shadow on. And once again, I'm going back in with the shade Matte 8 to darken up the outer corners and the crease. Next, taking a synthetic concealing brush that I got from Hobby Lobby, I'm going to pick up some concealer and create a cut crease slightly above her natural lids. And as you can tell, I'm not applying it in a super clean way. and that's okay because I will be blending it out for a softer cut crease. Now to set the concealer, I'm taking the shade Matte 1, and with my Volare E05 flat brush, I'm just going to pat that on to the cut crease that I just did, and I've already done that to the other side, by the way. Then going back in with the shade Matte 8, I'm going to darken up the outer corners again. Now to clean up the sides, I'm going to be using the darkest shade for my Graftobian foundation palette. And I don't want the lines to be too harsh, so I'm going to go in with my fingers to help soften it up by just patting on it. To line her eyes, I will be using the Inglot Gel eyeliner, and I'm going to be applying that as close as possible to her lash line, starting from the tear duct of her eyes and dragging it to the outer corners. Now, because I wanted a smoked out eyeliner, I'm going in with the shade Matte 12 and applying that onto the outer edge of her lash line and blending it up towards the shadow. The brush that I'm using for this is the Morphe M508 Smudger brush, by the way. Then I'm just going to apply on the lashes, and I don't remember the name of this, but I got it from Amazon. Now it's time for the face, and before I start on the foundation, I'm going to apply a liquid highlighter first, and this is going to give it that nice glow, and I'm just going to be blending that out with a round brush that I got from Real Technique. Then going in with a green color corrector, I'm going to apply that to the pimple on her forehead and around the nose area to help cancel out the redness. And to prevent that from moving when I apply on the foundation, I'm just going to set it with a loose powder. For the foundation that I'm using today, it is the Urban Decay All Nighter Foundation, and I did mix a bit of green concealer with it since her skin was slightly on the olive side. In person, it was like a perfect match, but on camera, yeah, you can tell it was pretty off, and I'm sorry. I may have added a bit too much of the green concealer, but yeah, just please bear with me. It'll balance out after the concealing and the contouring. And to conceal and highlight her face, I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in the shade 22N, and I'm just going to apply that onto her chin, the side of her cheeks, Cupid's bow, nose bridge, forehead, and under her eyes. And I'm just blending that out with the e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush and the Morphe Brittany Bare M0 brush, by the way. Then taking the LA Girl Pro Conceal in the shade Toes, I'm going to be contouring her face with that, and I'm just using the same brush that I was using earlier because there's still some pigment on the brush, so when I do use it to blend out the contour, it kind of balance it out and not make it look so harsh, like there's some Kit Kat on her face or something. And once I'm done blending out the cream contour, I'm going to be setting the areas that I concealed and highlighted with the Laura Mercier translucent powder. Now to set the rest of the face, I'm just going in with a regular pressed powder and lightly patting that on to her skin using a powder brush that I got from Kala. And this brush is from the Eco Natural Advanced Face and Eye 5-piece set. That was a lot of word, by the way. Now to bronze up the face, I'm going to be using the Hoola bronzer from my Benefit Cosmetics Scope palette. And I'm basically just applying the bronzer to the area that I cream contoured. And the brush that I'm using to do this is the B Bella in G316 angled contour brush. And to add some color to the face, I'm going to be applying these 2 shades of blush from the Scope palette onto the apples of her cheeks. And to give her face that glow, I'm taking the Makeup Revolution highlighter in the shade Make an Impact. I will be applying this to the areas that I want it to be highlighted. And if you guys do love the Benefit Cosmetic Tickle highlighter, this is definitely a dupe for it. I do have them both and they are very similar to each other. Now to finally finish off the eyes, I will be taking the Inglot gel liner and applying it onto her waterline. Then I'm just going to smudge it lower to her lash line and I'm going to smoke it out with some shadows. Taking the shade Matte 8, I'm applying that eyeshadow right below her lash line with a Morphe smudge brush. Then I'm going to blend that out, mixing the 2 shade Matte 2 and Matte 3 and applying it right below the shade Matte 8. Then to finish it off, I'm taking the shade Matte 12 and applying that right onto her lash line to create that smoky effect. And I'm just going to do that to the other side of her eyes. Next, I'm going to line her lips with the Morphe lip pencil in the shade Sweetheart. Then I'm going to go in with the Bare Minerals Gen Nude Gloss in the shade Darling and applying it all over her lips. And this is pretty much the final look. To set everything, I'm going to go in with the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray. And I'm just going to spray this all over her face. And that is pretty much it for this makeup look on my beautiful model Lisa. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on my next. Goodbye, guys.